Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's Licensing Committee meeting. Agenda item 1 is to receive apologies for absence.
Yes, we've had apologies from Councillor Lynn, Councillor Rackley and Councillor Spalding.
Thank you. Agenda item 2 is previous minutes, so as to confirm and sign the minutes for the meeting held on the 20th of April. They're in your pack. Can I have somebody propose they be accepted? Councillors Hoy and Meekins. Yeah. Everybody in agreement with those? Yes. Thank you. Agenda item 3, members to declare any personal prejudicial interest on the local code of conduct in respect of any item to be discussed. Any? No. So the reason we're here this morning, agenda item 4, is for the setting of the taxi fees for vehicle and operators for 22-23, pages 5 to 14 in the report. And I'm going to ask Michelle just to go through the report and the reasons and the recommendation.
Lovely, thank you, Chairman. Okay, so we're here today obviously to discuss the setting of the taxi fee. So this is obviously the fee that we charge the vehicle proprietors, the drivers and the operators for holding the relevant licence with us as an authority. It's set under the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1976. And whenever we have a fee increase for, as I say, the drivers, vehicles and operators, under this Act, we have to advertise under Section 70 the private hire operator and the vehicle licence. As you can see in Appendix A of your report, this was advertised on the 2nd of March. And subsequently during the period, which was, as I say, the 28-day period, we then received objections from the trade, which can then be found within the report. We've also on page Appendix D, sorry, of the report. In terms of the fees, just to sort of give you an overall, we haven't increased the fees since 2018. That was the last increase, and at that time we didn't receive any objections to them. They was advertised in accordance with the legislation. As I say, on this particular occasion, they was advertised on the 2nd of March, and obviously any responses to that was asked to be by the 30th of March. We did, as I say, receive objections, 6 objections in total. Appreciate obviously during that time there was obviously a fuel increase, so obviously that was kind of added to the fact that everything, I think from the taxi trade's point of view and some of the feedback I've received, felt like everything was going up. Just to give you a sort of an idea, obviously how we set the fees. So in terms of taxi fees, there shouldn't be a cost to the local authority. It should be on a cost-based recovery. And that's what we try and aim for. We're still not there yet on that. We're still kind of making up that slight difference, hence to say why we put the fees up. As you'll know from other fees that were set, the inflation rate was at 5.1%. And if you, within your pack, if you look at page 9 of your pack, you'll see in terms of the fees that we've looked to put them up by, they are slightly than the 5.1%. Obviously, during this year, as you'll be aware, we had some new technology, which obviously can be taken into account with the fees sort of from the online form point of view. So we've taken that into account and we've based that over a 5-year period to kind of put the revenue back in. As I say, in terms of for today and for today's purposes only, we are looking at the vehicle fees and the operator fees. I can confirm that the driver fees have already gone up by the said amounts and have been charged since the 1st of April, in line with obviously the fees that was set at the full council meeting that was approved. So that kind of concludes my report, and really obviously it's brought before you today for you to decide whether you are happy for us to go with the approved fees that was recommended and approved by full council, or any other decision you wish to make. And within that decision, you can choose to obviously keep the fees as they have been for 2021-22. You can delay any increase. It's entirely up to yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions regarding the report? Councillor Mayor.
I won't say it's a question. I am a bit concerned because I agree, you know, we can't keep holding prices back, but having heard at a previous meeting and another meeting that residents are concerned about the lack of service that we're getting, if we put the prices up, are we going to cause an even bigger problem with the taxi service? I don't know.
Councillor Meekins, Councillor.
Thanks. Yeah, it was just to say, I thought, based on the amendment of full council, this was actually going to be a bit of a wider review rather than just, are we putting the prices up? Yeah, because I think I hear what Councillor Mayor's saying, but at the same time, you know, is £4 enough as well? You know, if you're working and you've got to insure your vehicle and all of that, are you going to do it for £4? I don't know. There's also a few other problems that have been raised with me. So I think it's fair to say Wisbech taxi drivers are still very angry about the taxi rank being moved. Now I know that was like probably 10 years ago now, but people in Wisbech do tend to hold on to things for quite a number of years. But the new place, you know, we have to remember behind what was the case, that's closed now. So is the quietness of that affecting them? They also say that people are illegally parking in there, so they actually can't get on the rank if they even wanted to. So is that part of it? So there's a lot of additional factors that rather than just the pricing. So I think it would be, rather than sort of making any decisions today, I do think we need to look into what the issues are really and what the concerns of the trade are, because it's clearly, I don't think it's any one thing. And I think we need to make sure we find out what it is before we just sort of have a jerk reaction to a solution.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think the matter of the parking is, I've mentioned that had been brought to my attention, misuse of the hold up bay at outside the case. I think the review that is suggested as the result of the amendment at council is something that we're obviously going to take forward, and that was to really look at the availability of taxi provision. So, you know, we will get an idea underlying that, you know, whether that's affected by fees, running costs, late night behaviour, I don't know, but yeah, clearly this is something we could potentially defer until that comes to us. Councillor Meakin.
Yeah, I mean, as I understand it, taxi drivers are self-employed, therefore they can work when they want. Now, I would imagine that most taxi drivers get the bulk of their money on a Friday night and a Saturday night, and perhaps they don't want to go to work on a Sunday. I don't know how I suppose the only thing you could do is have a special Sunday rate or something where you're upping the price. I don't know, but I would imagine that, you know, that if they don't think they're making enough money on a Sunday, they're not going to go out to work.
And it's a good point, and that's where I welcome the amendment to conduct a review. It was a review into availability. The first set of wording was a little bit difficult to go out to consultation on, but that is something that's in the pipeline to actually look at the underlying reasons behind a lot of this, because as you say, it's private enterprise, and we may be able to influence some of them reasons, but some of them we clearly wouldn't.
Yeah, and two other things. I think another thing that's been raised to me is COVID's killed a lot of the nighttime economy off as well. People are saying that on Friday and Saturday nights, where they was taking £300 or £400 a day, it's just dropped right off because people just aren't going out as much. So that could be something that we, you know, there are going to be causes that we've just got no ability to impact on. And also, I don't know if we can have a look at this as part of the review, and I'm not suggesting this necessarily as a way forward, but I wasn't aware until the previous meeting that we don't actually have to set a maximum fare. We could just say there is no, you know, set what you like kind of thing. And people have said, why don't we do that? Now, it'd be interesting to see if we did that, what the consequences may be, and do you know what I mean, just have that as part of the review. Not to say that we might not go down that route, we might say, no, it's not a good idea, but it would be useful at least to have the information, so if people were to ask us in future, why don't we do that, we know, because we haven't got any kind of that information yet.
Councillor Connor, then Councillor Moore.
Yeah, I mean, I seconded this amendment in full council, and I welcome this. And anything that we can help the taxi drivers with, give a better service for whatever reason, I think we should do that, because obviously, you know, people need to get away from the nightclubs and the nightclub, and people need to go on taxis on holidays and that. And I think we should try and alleviate the problems that we certainly have, in my view, still got. But I think today we're here to see if we can do the increase. So I don't think that needs to be put back. I do think, as I said, as with Councillor Hoy, I do think we do need an absolute complete review of it. But I do think the increase should be determined today, because I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. With regards to the increase, personally, given all the factors that we've took into account so far, I don't think that any increase at this present moment in time is going to help in any way, shape or form. So I personally wouldn't be looking to recommend that, although I am looking forward to this review, especially given some comments that Councillor Hoy has made in relation to the overview of everything that's currently going on, because the public are crying out that there's no taxi drivers. The taxi drivers are working when they can, and we need to find some level ground for them. So that's for a later date, but certainly as regards to the fees today, I certainly won't be supporting any increase.
Councillor Mayor.
Yeah, I've been looking through these objections that have been raised. Can I ask if any have been raised from the Whittlesea area, please? Or can you not say? Because the advert, and I keep going back to this, all Fenland District Council adverts go in the Wisbech paper, the Fenland paper. We don't get it in Whittlesea. So do the taxi companies or private hire companies in Whittlesea get advised that this is going on? And have they made any comment? That was my question, please.
Thank you, Councillor Mayor. Just to confirm, whenever we send out any proposals of increase or any notifications, they go out to all drivers, all operators. They'll go out via email, which is our main communication method now. So they go out via gov.notifier. We send out everything in that format. So yeah, I'm convinced that everybody has seen sight of it from the responses. In terms of individual responses, I think it'd be wrong for me to comment, obviously, in terms of exactly where, you know, the kind of whether it was March, Wisbech, Whittlesea, or any of the supporting villages. But obviously, if you've got a particular one, and obviously after the meeting you'd like to comment on that, then obviously we could look into that. And if you, from my point of view, if there is a taxi company in Whittlesea that feels that they're not being consulted in the right way, then please by all means let me know and we can look into that as well. So thank you.
Councillor Hoy.
Yeah, I agree with what Councillor Connor said about putting the fees up, but I mean, obviously this isn't for passengers. We've already agreed that this is for the private hire operators and what they pay for their vehicle. And it's difficult because if we, in a way, I think everything has gone up and I can see why we're increasing it, but then it seems a bit like robbing Peter to pay Paul, because like a couple of weeks ago we said we were going to put the fares up, and then today we're then putting the rates of the private hire like renewal fee up. So it's almost like everything we've given them in one hand we've taken away with another. So I think, yeah, maybe it's better to wait until we've had this review, because
Councillor Connor.
If I may, yeah, as I said before, I welcome this review, but the price of diesel is now the highest, I think, around this way it's ever been. And it's gone up, we know, 30, 40 pence a litre. And that is having an effect on the taxi drivers going forward. So my own view, personal view, is that we should raise it today. We can have a review and what's lost, but we're just going to, the bottom line is it worth going to work and paying more for diesel, and the profits must be squeezed. So, you know, that's my view.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I think you need to you know, looking at Appendix B, which was the charges that were set by Cabinet and Council. Obviously went to overburn scrutiny. You know, the increases are shown there, and as Michelle said, a lot of it's on cost recovery. It's not with an aim to make money, but just to cover the cost. So I'll probably sit on the side that probably these fees should be increased today to go along with what Cabinet and Council agreed to for the budget. The only other option we have is to defer it, I guess, for a little while before we. So, you know, there is an option to defer, but and like everybody else, I welcome the opportunity to have a review for. Because although the review officers are being asked to conduct a review into the availability, that was really the issue that was raised. I think the wording that was changed, appropriateness, so availability, but the what that will bring out is the underlying reasons why the availability isn't there. Now, whether that's down to cost or other factors will be apparent, but I think this is probably something that should be approved in order to keep in line with you know, the other council services and other things that we do. Councillor Meakin.
Yeah, Michelle, how many licensed taxi drivers are there in Finland, or how many plates have been issued or whatever?
In terms of drivers or vehicles?
Drivers.
How many does this affect?
Oh, okay. So obviously this is not affecting the drivers as such, this is affecting the vehicles, because that's what
Okay,
we're talking about. So the vehicles and the operators. So vehicles, we've got approximately 134 vehicles within Finland, and operators, we've got 19 at my last count.
So if you take the 134 figure there, and there's only been 6 objections, that's sort of 4.5% have objected. Now, does that mean the other 95.5% think it's okay, or is it just apathy? I mean, the actual increase, as though the percentage looks quite high, the actual monetary increase isn't very much at all, because there is over a year. I mean, it's not a month or a week or anything, is it?
Yeah, no, it's a yearly
year.
charge. So yeah, absolutely.
Councillor Hoy.
Yeah, just 2 things. First of all, I think this happened in an odd way, and I don't know if we could perhaps ask member services to look at this for next or future years, because it seems bizarre that Cabinet and Council set the budget before we've had a chance to then potentially look at it. Because we are in a difficult situation where if we were to overturn this, it then does mess up the budget, which has already been set. So it seems to, in future years, this needs to happen first before the budget's set, because it's almost in a way forced our hand a little bit. And the other thing was to ask, how long do you think this review will take? Because obviously I'm minded, we need to, if there are recommendations that we need to implement, we need to do that fairly swiftly, I suppose. So obviously I know it's putting you a bit on the spot, Michelle, but I know you're very good and I'm sure you can get it done quite quickly. So
Just quickly, I think, I mean, Michelle will answer it, but I think as you stated early on, the need to go out for consultation for this was based on the fact that there'd been an increase in fees, wasn't it? Because this hasn't been anywhere since 2018.
Yes, that's why we went out to the consultation, right? But you're actually absolutely right. It is something that, as a process and a procedure going forward, I've been discussing this, and obviously we'll take this forward to member services and finance to say, at what point do we go out to the consultation? with the trade if there is a future increase, to make sure that it sits in line with the cabinet and council budget setting. So yeah, that is something we take on board definitely in relation to that. In relation to your second question, obviously from today I'm receiving lots of sort of comments on this motion that was put forward at a previous meeting. So yeah, I'm happy to obviously start some work on that and see when we can, and literally, it'll go top of the list to work on, definitely, from our point of view.
Any other comments? Well, the recommendation is to consider these responses and to decide whether or not they should be, and the fees that are on Appendix A, and decide whether they should be implemented. So do we have a proposer? You're happy to propose that they be implemented as set out in Appendix B? Who was second for that? Nick? Councillor Meekins, can I have a show on hands who for implementing these now? That's 3 in favour, and those against?
4
Sorry,
in favour,
4 in
Chairman.
favour, sorry, those against? Abstain, 1 against and 1 abstention. So that that is carried. They will be implemented, and we will then have a chance to have a deeper discussion on this based on the back of the findings from this review. Thank you very much. I think that concludes the agenda item. Just going to ask everybody to hang around for a bit. Yep, so we're in the live stream, and I will officially declare the meeting closed. Thank you all very much, but